Happy Friday, everybody. It's Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, your host of Kickstart Conversations. I'm really excited to bring on my guest today, who has been a huge impact in my own personal life in personal development and business. So stick around and I'll have Joe Soto on in just a Welcome.
Wow.
Oh, we are live.
That little video intro is cool.
Thank
Cool.
you.
You're natural at this. Thanks for having me.
Well, I took your advice and got an intro video made. I need to do an outro, but Ken Wall said I could just use the intro all over again. But yeah, welcome.
True.
I'm so happy that you're here. For those who are brand new to Joe Soto, let me tell you how I met Joe. I actually was starting to go through Ty Lopez's, digital marketing or social media marketing agency courses. Yeah. And Joe is the social media marketing guru for Ty Lopez's course. And I was thinking, oh gosh, this could be something I could do. And I thought about it. I talked to my husband. He's like, okay, if you think you can do it with 3 kids, go for it.
Why not?
So that's kind of how it all started. And then I messaged, I don't know if you remember this, but I messaged you on Thanksgiving Day, probably, 2 years ago.
I do remember.
And you actually responded back. And I said, Joe, I want to know, whose course should I buy? Ty's having a Black Friday is special. This is, should I go with yours or should I go with Ty Lopez? Or no, should I go with Ty Lopez or do you have one available? And you said, I do. And that's how we connected. So I bought it that day and then I showed up at your business mastermind weekend.
Yeah, you came to the event. You flew across the country and came and visited us in Northern Virginia. DC.
Yeah. And it was the first time I'd seen snow in probably 15 years.
Of all, I hadn't seen snow like that ever in Northern Virginia, and it snowed 12 inches the weekend of my event. I remember
that, but it was so beautiful.
Yeah,
that was so beautiful, and that was a great weekend. That's where I met Andrew Warner, Andrew Locke, and Brandon Steiner was there. I missed the following year where Jeffrey was there, but I still got to meet you guys. So, Joe is an incredible human being. He is not only. I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about yourself, but let me just share a little bit of what I know about Joe. He's a husband and a father, and you can share more about that. You are a speaker, you're a podcaster, you're a live streamer. You have a very successful digital marketing agency, and you have a mastermind, which I'm a part of, and I'm really glad for that. What else do you do, or what don't you do, Joe?
That's it. I do some coaching and have courses and a few other projects I'm working on, getting ready to launch a new exciting project in business with Andrew Locke. You mentioned him.
Oh, that's exciting.
People will see that coming. If you didn't catch the 12 resources podcast we did together, the Nifty Clicks, 12 Nifty Clicks, that was one of my favorite I've done because I learned so much on that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a mix. I always tell clients that I'm the only 10-year-old that you ever really want working on your business strategy, because we started our digital marketing agency as a social media only agency back in 2010. So I've been doing that for a long time. Before that, I had a 10-year-old sales training company. A lot of people don't know that about me, but that's why I emphasize on sales and sales process so much in my agency trainings.
Yeah.
And because of the relationship with Ty Lopez, I really got entered into the digital education business, helping people that were maybe similar to where I was in 2010, trying to figure out how do I start an agency or a consulting business. And I went through all that. We grew our agency business to 7 figures in our first year. And I did a lot of things wrong and I did a lot of things right. And that's what my mission is now is to help people that are in kind of that startup phase and they're trying to avoid maybe some of the harder lessons I learned, and also, glean from my experience that I've gotten in the meantime.
Yeah. Here, Lewis says, Joe, I'm trying to get in contact about your services. So there you go. Lewis, I'm going to tell you how to get in touch with Joe at the end of the show. So hang tight. And then
I'll even give you my number to text me. How's that?
Oh, okay. And then Eric, he's in the pizza service industry. I actually was messaging with Eric the other day. He said some solar queen and some dude. I actually started, my first job was at Pizza Hut. That's what my very first job was.
At Pizza Hut?
At Pizza Hut, yeah.
I lived in a town that was so small we didn't even have a McDonald's or a Subway, but we had a Pizza Hut.
A Pizza Hut?
Yeah, we had a grocery store and a Pizza Hut.
That
was our hangout.
That's where I ate dinner a lot. Where did you grow up, and share a little bit about where you grew up, where you live now, a little bit about your family, if you will.
Yeah, I grew up in southeastern Iowa, and I'm the youngest of a big family. I've all sisters. I have 5 older sisters, and I ended up moving out to where I live now. It's just Northern Virginia, because my wife's family is from Northern Virginia, actually originally from New York, and they kind of migrated to Northern Virginia, but she finished out high school in Northern Virginia. Between the two of us, we have now 9 children.
Incredible.
Two are out of the house already, and then we have 7 in the home that are under the age of 16. And we, ranging from Aiden, who's 16, to Denver, who's 2.
Yes.
So we have our hands full, and we're balancing, as soon as I'm done here, literally as soon as I'm done here, I'm driving 3 hours south to Lynchburg for a hotel stay, because tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., my son has a cross-country meet in Lynchburg, Virginia. So while I'm doing that, my wife is taking one of our daughters to a volleyball game. Softball just ended for my other daughter. So we're juggling. You're juggling. You've got a tribe as well.
I mean, you guys inspire me, because I figure if you can do it, I can do it too, without excuses. I have 3 kids. Right now they're keeping themselves occupied with some games on their iPads.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but through this COVID time, my kids have really bonded and really formed some really amazing relationships that I don't think would have developed as quickly had we not been so in tight quarters with each other. So have you seen that with your family?
Yeah, we ended up, I kind of saw that come to fruition when we were in the Outer Banks. We decided to take a vacation finally this summer. We did it in, I think it was early September, maybe the end of August. I'm trying to remember the dates now. And we went to the Outer Banks, which is in North Carolina, I think it is. And we rented a beach house and played. If you've ever heard of Jackbox TV, if somebody has children, you'll thank me for this. Jackbox TV has a couple of games. One's called Fibbage and one's called Quiplash, and there's another one called Drawful, which is kind of like a Pictionary.
Oh, look!
There's the kiddos now.
Here comes one of them. This is Kira. Can you say
Kira?
Hi? Oh,
hey, Kira.
Okay, baby.
Like, wait a minute. I'm ducking down.
You want me to take you to McDonald's?
No, I want you make on my time.
Okay. When I'm all done with this, I will come help you with Minecraft. Can you go ask your brothers?
No.
Please, sweetheart.
Mom.
This is the beauty of live streaming, right?
I know. I wrote in Jeffrey Gittins's latest book about how kids bust in all the time when I'm doing live streams. It's not.
Here you go.
People expect it nowadays.
Yeah. I think it's. Well, she's going. Close the door, darling. Here, share a little bit about what you do, Joe.
I could do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me finish talking about Jackbox TV. If you have children, you'll love this. It's it's an app you could put on your computer,
Mm-hmm.
and you can play games together with the family, and you participate from your devices. So your kids can be on their iPad and you can be on your phone.
Yeah.
And the drawful game, for example, it's like Pictionary, but you're drawing, and then people have to guess what it is you're drawing up on the TV. And we use Apple TV to broadcast it on the TV. Otherwise, you could just show it on your laptop.
Yeah.
So when you'll see how it works, but basically one laptop and then all the devices, and you play these games together. So it's a way to combine family game time with the digital world that the kids are already familiar with. And really, from our 8-year-old up, we all played every night when we were on vacation together. So it's a really cool.
So fun.
It's a really cool. It's a really cool thing to do with the family. So
yeah.
Jackbox.tv.
.tv. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Cody says, Joe.
Hey, Cody.
Hey, Cody.
Live from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah. So, okay. I want to talk about now my son's coming in. Okay, come here. Quickly come here. Do they do this? Do they come in when you're doing something and they're like, here's my money, buy me Robux?
10 times a day.
And it's during the time. It's during the time when they know that
you're going live.
I'm going live.
Going live. Well, here's the cool thing for anybody watching is that you're learning. Hey there.
This is my other son. I need you to help Kira. Okay.
This is what I tell people. You can remove the excuses of going live if you don't worry about what other people think. I have Jeffrey Gittins has a new book coming out called Go Live. And I contributed a chapter in it. And in that chapter, I talk about how you have to just roll with the punches of distractions with kids coming in. I've had kids. I have one of our bathrooms right outside of my office, and it almost never fails that when I'm doing live shows, they'll choose to use just my bathroom, and they'll hear this flush in the background and other things. I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids are using the bathroom that's next to my office,
and it's right next to the office.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to say the things that you suggest so many books. I want to learn how you develop such a passion for reading, because you have recommended so many books, and I buy them when you recommend them so I don't forget them. Okay, go, honey. Like I brought the stack in and it was too big. I thought it was too big. But talk about your love for reading. What are you reading right now? I just got Primal Branding, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, The Art of, too many. You talk about too many books. And I texted you the other day, how do you read so fast? How do you get through them? But talk about your love for reading. I know you have bookshelves and books. You need a new bookshelf, Joe.
Yes, I do need new bookshelves.
But how do you discover these books? And then how do you get through them all with the life that you do lead? I'm just so curious about that.
What you don't see is the books I don't recommend. The books I get, and I'm like, this one isn't so great. I'm not going to recommend this. I don't recommend every book I buy. I recommend the books that I really think can help people. So in 1990, 91. So we're talking, 1991. I have a newborn son. I'm a young 19-year-old college student, and I had adjusted my schedule so I could be up like doing the bottle in the middle of the night with my son, because I had to go to college classes the next day, and I adjusted it so my college classes didn't start till 11. And so, the only thing on in the middle of the night is infomercials. And one of the infomercials was Tony Robbins back then. This is over, 20 years ago here. And over 20 years ago. And his new book had just came out called Awaken the Giant Within, which is a great book. And
I have that book.
Yeah. And that was the first real nonfiction business book I had ever read. And it's more of a self-development book. And I read it cover to cover, and I did everything the book said. I created a journal. I went through spiritual goals, personal goals, professional goals, financial goals. I took every category and I broke it down, and I just started doing what the book said. And this was really an early habit I developed, which was taking something that I read and immediately grabbing pen to paper. And now I'm using Evernote to figure out how am I going to apply what it is I'm learning and reading. Most people will read, enjoy a couple concepts, and then put it to the side and forget it two months later. My memory hinges on my ability to write out notes, take things that I'm going through and deciphering it, and then figuring out where would I apply this? Like, how is this applicable in my life? Most people leave that part out. So, but that's where it started. And at the time, I had just been put on academic probation at the college. I had just finished my second year of playing college football, small college football. And they said, you're not going to be here a year from now if you don't improve your grades. And reading changed all that for me. So I realized I can learn, and I had just lost a year before my father at the age of 18. I had already lost my mother at the age of 7. So I was kind of on my own, new dad, and trying to figure out like whose responsibility is my future. And it was me. So in order to take responsibility, I knew I needed to have some mastery over myself. So I just started seeking out and reading books like Psycho-Cybernetics, which is one of my all-time favorite books by Maxwell Maltz. It's my favorite mindset book ever.
I'm writing it down.
Psycho-Cybernetics is a must-read for anyone who says, I want to have a better self-image. I want to have a stronger self-esteem. It's in self-worth. I bought The Magic of Thinking Big, which was an early book that I bought that had, the chapter 2 on removing excusitis was like a game changer for me. And I just started realizing that if I wanted to have, any sort of success or build the life I wanted to build for my family, that it starts with me. Yeah. And
see, look, I have it right here.
There it is. Yeah.
It's a great book. Everyone should read this book.
Schwartz, he was an ex-Georgia State professor, but that book was amazing.
Yeah.
It'll remove excuses, that's for sure. But that's how it started. So
you started the reading.
We're always learning. Harvey McKay said something to me once. He's one of my mentors. He wrote How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. If you don't have a copy of that, I will bring you one when I see you in Florida. Just let me know.
I don't have that. I don't have a copy of that.
I'll bring you one. And he said to me, or he says, one of his famous sayings is, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.
Yeah.
And that's just stuck with me. So he's, in his 80s, and he still believes that. He's still reading. One of our mutual friends, Wyatt Woodsmall, reads more than I do. Still learning.
His book, I have it. And I love Dr. Wyatt Woodsmall. I am a little intimidated by the fine font, the small font, and all the pages.
Like 400 pages. Yeah.
I've started reading it. That's a problem with me.
That's why we turned it into an online course.
And I didn't get the course.
It's okay. We're going to be re-releasing it soon.
Okay, good. But his teachings and the things that, you learned from him.
Yeah.
Many of the things that you went on in your business, your coaching business started because of Wyatt, right?
Yeah, I had actually read about his patterns and his strategies and applied it to a company I was working with at the time, which was a credit and collections company. And we were kind of rewriting the curriculum for the collectors who collect debt, and really just turned around the entire philosophy and structure of that program based on his principles. And that's a way that's the example I'm, trying to set, which is, don't just read a book for the sake of reading, unless it's a fiction and you're just reading it for enjoyment or inspiration. But if it's a book on business, then how can you apply some of the strategies or principles or the concepts people are describing in their book to your life and have real impact? And
I find I'm starting to see, as I'm reading a lot of these books, that not only you've suggested, but others have suggested, you can find the common theme throughout. I read Contagious. I love this book.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a little bit of the Play Bigger book that you're in, a little bit of Primal Branding, but the things that catch on. Why is culture so fascinated with identifying themselves with something? Like you and Patrick were talking about Starbucks and how Starbucks has brilliantly branded themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when you guys, I know that they've only done a few commercials, very few, and it's usually at the holidays. But when I worked at Starbucks, I also worked at Starbucks. When right before I got hired on at Boeing, but everything it was home, work, Starbucks. That's what they wanted. Starbucks was the place that they wanted everyone to go if they weren't either at home or at work.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes, how and the language, like when he was talking
The
about
lexicon,
it's an decaf iced grande, latte, and they train you to say it in a certain way. And if you go up, Joe, and say, I'd like a double grande iced decaf mocha,
right,
they
it's
will
backwards.
will correct you.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating, and
not only that, you'll start using that same languaging when you're at Dunkin' Donuts or Caribou.
Yeah.
And they're so used to it, they just kind of roll their eyes because they know what you're trying to say. But you're carrying Starbucks' language with you. That's how well they've got their branding language into your vocabulary.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I'm learning and trying to implement as quickly as possible in my own business and what I'm doing in life. But so you created a digital marketing agency, you said 10 years ago, and you took 7 figures in the first year, and you've scaled that since.
Yeah, but we've stayed, we're a boutique agency.
Mm-hmm.
And our first few years, we focused primarily on local small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started taking on speakers and authors in year 2, and that became kind of our niche for a while.
Yeah.
We spent a year and a half focusing on the hospitality industry, hotels and restaurants. We had, I think at one time, over 50 restaurants that were on retainer with us. And we've gone back and forth. So now we primarily work with speakers and authors again, and influencers, people that are course creators or trying to launch their coaching or funnel programs around their services. But we have, some B2B companies and some other clients that are still in that mix. But it's been really interesting watching digital marketing evolve. When we first started, there was no Facebook advertising. There was no social media advertising. LinkedIn, Facebook did not have advertising pieces to their platform. YouTube either.
Oh,
and so
crazy.
For us, it was, Jeffrey Gittins was one of my first speaker author clients. And for him, it was, hey, Jeffrey, you need a blog. And he's like, what's a blog? What's a blog? Should I really have a blog? 2011. Jeffrey, wait a minute. You also need a YouTube channel, and you need a LinkedIn profile, and you need, MySpace. We were doing MySpace in 2010, and then it went away.
Oh, I remember MySpace.
So it was about social media presence back then, and social branding. And Jeffrey, being that example, was one of the first clients that we got where we brought him completely online, like into the online world, and he saw the power of LinkedIn, and he actually mentioned our agency and me in his newest revision of the Sales Bible because of the help we gave him with LinkedIn alone. But that's how we were working with clients back then. Today, it's much different. Today, it's you don't just need traffic and advertising. You need a funnel and a system to bring people through a customer journey that makes sense for how they will determine whether they want to buy from you.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an understanding of that, what I call a 3-part system for marketing online, and the pieces inside of it, then you're missing out. And those 3 pieces are very simple. It's traffic. How do I get traffic to my business? And there's all kinds of ways to do that. And then how do I convert? There's conversion, traffic conversion. Conversion is how do I turn someone into a visitor into a lead, or in a lead into a customer? What's my system for doing that? Most people just go, I don't really have a strategy or a system, Joe, for doing any of this. And then third is retention. How do I keep them loyal and keep them to want to, keep buying from me? And just, I'm talking on behalf of the client.
Yeah.
How do I keep them loyal? How do I upsell them? How do I get them new things and new offers and keep them in my world? If you can really grab a hold of those three pieces of your marketing strategy and understand that that's all you should focus on, is one of those three things. How do I attract customers? How do I convert customers? And how do I keep them?
Yeah.
And that's how simple I think of it.
Yeah. And it really is that simple. So I'm curious. I don't know that I don't know if I know how you and Jeffrey actually met.
I'll tell you. That's actually a great story for people who don't know. Hey, my agency, me and my employees subscribed to Jeffrey's Sales Caffeine, which he still has today, which is an email newsletter.
Yep.
I had read his books, The Sales Bible, The Little Red Book of Selling, Customer Satisfaction is Worthless, Customer Loyalty is Priceless. And these were books that had really made an impact in my life and from a sales standpoint. And so I had my people subscribe to his sales material, because our agency, I said, listen, we're going to be an agency that is focused on sales, that, we cannot breathe and live unless we have client cash flow coming in. We won't keep those clients if we don't produce for them. But the first priority is let's get them. And the second priority is to make sure we can fulfill what we're promising. And we got really good at both. And so one day, a lady who works in my organization, worked in my company, she was our director of client happiness.
I like that.
She says to me, hey, Jeffrey Gittins, one of the people that you claim as one of your favorite authors and mentors, is going to be doing a social media for sales pros seminar in King of Prussia, Virginia. And this is into 2010, maybe early 2011. And I said, okay, let's go. She said, well, better yet, it looks like they'll accept sponsors. What a great event for us to sponsor as a social media agency. And I think we could have our own booth and we could be at his seminar. And I thought, even better. I said, can you do some digging for me? So then she calls me and says, I have a call scheduled with you and Jeffrey on Saturday. It was like a Saturday. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm moving my son into college that day, into his college dorms. I'll do it. I'm like, I'll just, leave the dorm and go out and want to move, and I literally took the call in the car.
Oh my gosh.
But then I found out it was $15,000 to sponsor his event.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
A lot of money for a new startup agency that was still trying to get its bearings and figure out its profitability, and throwing away $15,000, which seemed like throwing it away to me, but I realized it wasn't. It was investing. And then he made me convince him why I should spend the $15,000. He turned it around and said, listen, I want you to tell me why I should let you sponsor my event. And by the way, it's $15,000. But we convinced him. We showed up. Lewis Howes was there. He was one of the speakers. At the time, he had written a book on LinkedIn, and that was all he had ever done.
Yeah.
In the world of digital marketing or social media. Now he has the School of Greatness podcast, which has millions of listeners. Mm-hmm. But at the time, here's Lewis with his LinkedIn book. Sally Hogshead was there. She was amazing. And a few other really cool speakers. And so then I said to Jeffrey after the event, I said, Jeffrey, great event. I love that you're telling people to get on social media for selling. You're telling people to get on Facebook and get on all these. I said, but you don't have a very good Facebook page. You're not even on YouTube. You're not on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And you don't even have a blog, and our agency can help get all that done for you. And he said, I want you to come to Charlotte and pitch my team on this. So I flew into Charlotte, and the rest was history. That's how I met him.
I mean, I think I've mentioned on every single episode of my show, it's very new, but I always talk about how we need to invest back into our businesses. And I think people have a hard time because it's kind of like the farmer who sows the seed and has to wait for the harvest to grow. And they don't know what's going to happen in, 3-6 months or 4, however long. I'm not a farmer. Can you tell? I tried to grow a pumpkin from a pumpkin starter from my son's teacher. Yeah. And it was doing so well. And then the squirrels got to it.
Oh, see, we're lucky. We have a bunch of pumpkins.
Oh, I felt so terrible, but I was so proud of the pumpkin. But I feel like that's marketing, especially if it's not direct sales type marketing, not direct sales, direct marketing. The
Yeah.
sales letters that you very
Direct response.
direct response marketing, but putting things out there where you don't know whose eyeballs is it going to land on. But you had probably a very specific target in mind. That was Jeffrey.
Yeah. And not only that is I had such admiration for what he had done and the impact he'd already made in my life that I went into that relationship going, not only do I want to do a really great job, but I'm going to learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
And over the next 12 months, he'd invited me to speak at most of his seminar events. I spoke at over 30 of his seminar events nationwide, doing what we turned into, we called it the social media lunch and learn. And it was a 90-minute lunch and learn with me during the middle of his seminar day. And that earned me some clients. Mm-hmm. More importantly, it got me around somebody who was older and wiser and had more experience in sales. And to me, that was priceless. So the investment was very small. It just to give you a perspective of that investment. One day, Jeffrey calls me up. I'm literally sitting in my agency office, and the guy in my office is playing like Madden on Xbox. And I got my feet propped up and I'm on my laptop, and Jeffrey calls. He says, Jeffrey Gittins. I said, hey, Jeffrey. And he says, do you know who Harvey McKay is? I said, of course I do. I have all of his books. I love Harvey McKay. He says, I'm sitting in his office right now, and here he is. And I'm like, and he puts him on the phone with me, and he says, Joe, I'm going to be in Des Moines, Iowa tomorrow, presenting to the Des Moines Register sales team for the Des Moines Register newspaper group. Can you be there for this seminar? I'll have you as my guest there. I said yes. I don't know what I mean, my kid could be getting married, and I still would have said yes. I said yes. And he says, okay. So he goes, after the seminar, I have 30 minutes for you to tell me how you can help me. And then I got to catch my private plane out of Des Moines. So I show up. I'm in the front row. He completely blows away the room with his 1 hour keynote speech. He signs books for like the next 20 minutes, signs mine at the very end with me in a private room with him. And I still have that book literally over here to my left. And it was like a whirlwind. And this was at the time, like a $60,000 a year contract that we made to do social media services for him.
Wow.
It happened like that fast.
Wow.
Well, I had the benefit of having Jeffrey say, Joe knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't invest in Jeffrey's program as a sponsor and put that investment of money in and time and backed it up with, real skills.
Yeah.
But that relationship then led to millions of dollars in revenues for my agency because of the relationships that it led to from Harvey alone.
Yeah.
And Harvey had a mastermind. I joined it the second year. He did it for, I think, 2 years. That was $75,000 a year. And people wouldn't blink twice to join that.
Right.
As long as they obviously had revenues to back it up. Yeah. But who would raise your hand if you're listening? And you can do it privately if you're watching a recording. Would you invest $75,000 if you knew that could turn into at least $2 million in revenue for you? Everybody would.
Yeah.
So masterminds or coaching or upgrading your skills or paying to get into the environment of being around people that could inspire or elevate your game is 100% an investment. It's not an expense. It does not cost money.
Yeah.
It costs time.
Yes.
And that's something you can't get back. Next Thursday and Friday, I am at the War Room Mastermind in Austin. And I've been invited as a guest from the owners of digitalmarketer.com to join that.
Wow.
That's a $30,000 a year mastermind group. So there's obviously great networking to be done there as well. But, all of us, everyone, we're learning and we learn from each other. The benefit of masterminds is how much you learn from each other, not just from the people holding it on. You know this, you're in a mastermind with us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's value in the group. And also knowing that you're taking it when you invest money in yourself, it focuses you to it's like, okay, now I'm going to be really intentional because I just spent a lot of money.
Yeah. It puts your skin is in the game at that
Your
point in
skin's in
time.
the game.
And for people who are married and, one spouse might not be a part of the mastermind. I don't know. Are you and Lene in a mastermind together, or have you been in?
Yeah, we have been. And she was also a guest with the Harvey McKay mastermind, because they allowed a guest to come as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in masterminds with Brendan Bouchard.
Mm-hmm.
My very first mastermind was with Andrew Locke.
Oh,
I was in his mastermind. We ended up doing one together later on, but I was actually in his mastermind with my very first one. And that was in 2012.
Lewis says I'm doing the Writers Weekend with Gittimer.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
exciting.
That is awesome.
Oh, Gittimer. He misspells Gittimer.
It's okay.
And Tevin's
There's Tevin
tuning in from Europe. I don't know. You're in England now, right? I don't know where you're at.
He might be in Belgium. He might be in England.
He might be somewhere. I can't remember where he was at. Maybe was it Sweden a couple of months ago? But Tevin's great. I can't wait to meet him in person again. Because was he at your business mastermind weekend in Virginia?
Yeah,
I feel like I met Tevin, but we've talked back and forth, through Facebook and stuff.
So Tevin's been there twice. He was there this last January again.
Mm-hmm.
And, because of the lockdown and COVID, he hasn't been able to join us in the States yet this year, but that'll get made up for next year, hopefully.
Well, I have to say masterminds. I remember meeting or seeing you and Lene at Andrew's the Sam show, which I didn't know what to expect out of it, but I went. I think I signed up for it when I came to your mastermind weekend in
that was
Virginia.
cool, wasn't it?
It was cool, but that weekend, I mean, that's where I met Glenn Morshore. I met Brandon Adams. I mean, so many people that are doing some amazing things. And it was just I learned really, that's where it kind of solidified the whole power of a mastermind. Yeah. And I decided then I was going to join a mastermind. And then in December, you emailed, I think it was maybe November even. It was one of those emails, and I get like thousands of emails. I can't even tell you, you probably have tons too, but whenever I get an email from you, I check it, and it wasn't like some spammy email, like going, hey, we're going to have this. But I came, and that's where I got to meet Jeffrey and some other amazing Cynthia from our mastermind, and some other Jerry Burns was there, and then decided my husband.
Was David and Ken Walls at that one?
They weren't at that one.
Okay, so they were at the next one together.
Yeah.
So we had two of those small 2-day weekend ones, which were really cool.
Yeah.
You hadn't heard of Jeffrey at that point, which was really mind-boggling.
Embarrassingly not, because I never wanted. Okay, so here's back to my job history. I worked after Pizza Hut, I worked at a car dealership, and I saw the salespeople. I was like, I never want to be a salesperson. Yeah. I never want to be a salesperson. So I just kept telling myself, I never want to be a salesperson. I never want to be a salesperson. Then I got started at Starbucks. And obviously when you're working retail, you're a salesperson. Like I sold leather coats at Wilson's Leather for one holiday season.
You're a mother. You're a salesperson.
Yeah. And then I worked at Boeing, and I got to be a part of a sales support, but I went and helped support Boeing sales, commercial airplanes, go and sell 737s and 787s to Japan Airlines. I wasn't doing the negotiating.
I understand.
Support. So then I got into what I'm doing, and which is solar. And I saw the problems, and I got into it to solve the problems of making sure people understood exactly how solar worked. And now you're crushing it. And now I would have to say, think about this, because you don't want to be a cheesy salesperson, JB, and you're not. You understand sales at the core that it really is, which is service. It's serving and helping other people. And if you have something that you genuinely know can help someone, it's your obligation to do whatever you can and to hone the skills to be able to convince them to move in a direction that's going to make them better somehow, or improve their life, improve their business, whatever it might be. So that is how I've always approached sales.
is I don't want to ever be in a situation where someone says no to me. They say no to the sale, not to me really, but they're saying no to whatever it is I'm offering. And I know they made a bad decision, that it genuinely was going to help them and better their business. And so therefore, I'm the one who's responsible for making sure that that situation doesn't happen. So I have to hone my skills.
Yeah.
You are a master at this. You're already a natural at, you're very charismatic. You're a natural at being able to you're a natural servant. You genuinely care. Your customers know this. And so they're happy to recommend you, and you'll make sales because you know you're putting them in a better situation financially, for the environment. I mean, there's so many different reasons why people are investing to go with you and not picking somebody else. You get this at the highest level.
Well, and I think really the thing is, it's relationships. And if anything that you've talked about today, it's not, I built a 7-digit or 7.
No,
I did.
It all hinged on these relationships. That's correct.
All the foundations on relationships, and there's power in the relationships. And I have learned, there is something to be said about you have to invest in yourselves. And this is what I'm trying to instill in my children now. I know you guys are homeschooling. We're homeschooling. My kid asked the other day, why do you read so much, or why are you doing all this stuff? And I go, because you never stop learning. Like, they think school is you go to school, you do the stuff, and then you're done. But I just want to instill in my children, you never stop learning, and how important relationships are. And then my son, my 5.5-year-old, he goes, Mom, how do I become rich, or how do I become a billionaire? And I said, well, son, you're going to have to learn how to solve a lot of problems. Like, solve one problem,
$1 billion problem. If you want to
big problems, solve the problem, and you'll be wealthy. So
that's the same answer I give my kids. They'll say, how do I make $1 million? I say, you have to solve $1 million problem.
Yeah.
You want to make $1 billion, solve $1 billion problem. Elon Musk is solving $1 billion problems.
That's right. And then they go, and I tell them to start thinking and look for problems that they can solve. So it's really fun to be a parent, and especially with, some of the knowledge and the things that I've learned. And I owe a great deal of thanks to you, Joe, for, I'm so glad I watched some of these YouTube. I mean, I literally typed in, how do I become a millionaire online? I haven't reached the millionaire status yet, but I don't think that's, the money stuff is nice, but it's not the end goal for me per se. But, I don't like confinement. Like, I don't like being in a 9-to-5 job. I know some people really, that's what they need, but I just don't do well in that environment. I need to be creative. I need to be able to have freedom and flexibility to go after the things that I want to go after. But
this is also important for some people to understand. There's a difference between $1 million business and $1 million net worth.
Yeah.
Because of profitability. I remember when I first had grown, my agency had grown to $1 million, and I had a business coach say to me, "What are you taking home, Joe?" And it was, not even 2/10 of that. And he said, well, then you got your business structured wrong. Well, once, now in the business, I realize how lucrative and profitable the educational part of the business can be. That makes up for where the agency can be much more expensive to run than the personal brand stuff. So, understanding, where your profitability is a big piece of this, but it's never about the money. It is 100% along what Jim Rohn says. He says it's about what you'll become, the person you'll become along that journey. And you have to enjoy it along the way, because it's never about the money.
Yeah, it never is. I've really enjoyed this journey. I'm so grateful for, I talked to you and Lene about how you guys support each other and how you do your family. It's been really helpful for me and my marriage. Just, my husband is so extremely supportive. And I tell you this and you're like, you're so lucky.
You are lucky.
I am. I know that.
You're blessed.
My kids are so, they're so supportive too, but they also are like, yes, Mom's doing her stuff. I can go play my iPad. That's just kind of the reality of it right now. But it has, the last, 2.5 years have just taken a turn for the better. And I'm just so grateful Thank you so much for the influence that you've had on my life, and Lene too. I mean, she's right there in there. We message every
She's
now and
amazing. I am very blessed as well.
then. And she not only do you have your business, she has hers, which I want her to be on my show someday. So
she will.
Okay.
Before she left to go, she went to go work out here just a little while ago,
Yeah.
and the little one went down for a nap, and she had like a bunch of orders laid out on our counter, and she's taking to the post office. She's in the middle of doing all of it, plus she's homeschooling. I don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
You guys are both super moms, and on the business side, go ahead.
Oh, I just feel like the more we have to do, the more efficient we become.
Yeah, and that's part of having a lot of children. It kind of forces you into those routines and efficiency. Yeah. So you've been amazing at implementing and executing, and that's all anyone like myself could ask for. And so now you're inspiring me, like I told you earlier. So thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming. And we went a little bit longer than normal, but I'll see you in Florida in a few weeks. And
we'll be in Florida.
Tight for just a second. I'm gonna just end the show really quickly, but that's not what I wanted to do. Here we go. So next week, I am going to have the owner of CBD 101, Justin Benton, on, and he's going to come on and share about the benefits of CBD oil. I have, used some on my muscles, and it's really been helpful. And he's got a whole line of things to help you if you have aches and pains and other things that you want to see, improvement on. He's going to share all about that. I'm so excited. So tune in next week, and we'll see you then.